What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're talking about one of the biggest pieces of news for Bitcoin that I believe has been swept under the rug, which is that Jack Dorsey, the CEO of both the mega payments company Square and Twitter, has been incredibly bullish on the currency and has actually been implementing Bitcoin into his services on Square. I was reading an article from the Times that goes on to talk about Jack Dorsey's thoughts about digital currencies and about Bitcoin, and he has this thesis that there will be a single internet currency that will basically serve as the world's single currency within the next 10 years. He views Bitcoin as the leading candidate to take this position as the global leading internet digital currency, and this is incredibly important for a couple of reasons. Not only is Jack Dorsey an OG of Silicon Valley, has an incredible track record of success founding Twitter, leading the company, then handing it off to Dick Costolo before the IPO, and then he came back to Twitter after there were a ton of problems a couple years ago, has single-handedly turned the company around, returned them to growth, made them go profitable, doing this while being the CEO of Square, the small business payments platform, which has skyrocketed in value. It was only trading at $16 a share a year ago. Today it's at $57 a share with a market capitalization of $23 billion. So, not only is Jack Dorsey a thought leader in tech, but he is a thought leader in payments as well, which makes his opinion on Bitcoin so valuable. Besides being an investor in Bitcoin himself, he has all these opinions on the digital currency and is actually a believer that one day we will be able to use Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee. And this is so important because I view this as the uber bull case of Bitcoin, which is that you can use it for everyday small payments. The bull case before that, which in my opinion is a lot more likely, is that Bitcoin becomes digital gold and a decentralized store of value. To really be something where you buy a cup of coffee with it, the transaction times for Bitcoin need to decrease dramatically. The cost per transaction needs to decrease dramatically, and the pollution per transaction needs to decrease dramatically. But the kind of point that Jack Dorsey makes in this Times article, which I think is very valid, is that there's a ton of smart people all around the world actively working on solving these problems. And if you look at the data behind Bitcoin, yes, there was a massive spike and sort of clog up in the network a couple months ago when it reached a ton of popularity, but really those just appear to be growing pains. Since then, the average transaction price for Bitcoin transactions has fallen dramatically. So all the fundamentals for Bitcoin continue to improve. And this is a sort of bigger theory that I have of, that I like to call the stagnation fallacy, which I mentioned on a bunch of episodes, which is that, you can't think of Bitcoin as a mature technology. Bitcoin today is nothing what Bitcoin in 5 years is going to look like. And so that is so important to keep in mind, that Bitcoin is always been improving. It's sort of like a software startup, or I believe that's how you have to think of it to gauge sort of how its capabilities are changing over time. And a huge piece of the future of Bitcoin, tying this back into Jack Dorsey, is a project called Lightning Labs, which is a special technology designed to make it far cheaper and far faster to process transactions on the Bitcoin network. And of course, guess who is a funder of this company? Jack Dorsey himself. And what's crazy is Jack Dorsey is not only the really heavy hitter invested in this project. Jacqueline Ressis, the serial co-founder turned investor, David Sachs, the creator of Litecoin, Charlie Lee, Eventbrite co-founder Kevin Hartz, BitGo CTO Ben Davenport, and Robinhood, the free stock trading app co-founder Vlad Tenev, and a bunch of really important other people are backing this startup. So, I think this is a huge moment for Bitcoin because this is one of the really first times we have seen big tech sort of move forward and be very vocal about their support for Bitcoin. And I believe Jack Dorsey could single-handedly move the needle on Bitcoin adoption via Square. Square initially allowed users of its Cash app, which is sort of like Venmo, allows you to send money in between friends and even pay with it on the Square platform, rolled out Bitcoin functionality in late 2017. Then in early 2018, they expanded this beta test of Bitcoin functionality to every single user. And now it appears they're just getting one step closer to integrating Bitcoin as sort of a tried and true payment method within the Square ecosystem. And Square is a massive company. The market cap is $23 billion. If you take a look at a couple stats from their fourth quarter results, you can see that the gross payment volume was nearly $18 billion and continues to grow rapidly. The company's doing over $600 million in net revenue. In terms of the Cash app specifically, they have more than 7 million monthly active users as of December 2017. If you look at the App Store rankings here, they have a trailing 90-day average of the free app rankings in the Apple App Store for the Cash app. It continues to grow in popularity. And Square, your favorite coffee shop is probably already using Square. So that's what makes it so crazy to me when Jack Dorsey, the CEO of this company, says that he believes Bitcoin will be a payment method for your cup of coffee because he is actually owning the point of sale system that would be able to facilitate that transaction. I don't really know what to make of this. I don't think Bitcoin is actually going to move the needle on Square's financials in the near term. But to see Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Square and Twitter, actually be so vocal about Bitcoin, be an investor in the currency, be an investor in Lightning Labs, a technology to scale the cryptocurrency, and see Square, the company itself, push to integrate Bitcoin, to me is an incredibly legitimizing factor for the digital asset and the cryptocurrency. I think this is one of the biggest pieces of news of Bitcoin because it is actually going to allow millions of people to physically transact with it every day and like really move the needle on adoption of Bitcoin as a whole. So that's why I'm following this Square news with Bitcoin so closely. Just reading this article and thinking about how Square is pushing Bitcoin actually made me a lot more bullish on Bitcoin itself. I still own a little bit of Bitcoin, but sold most of mine on the run up in late 2017. Still having a little bit of FOMO because I'm out of it now. But, the bottom line is I think I made a huge mistake in my analysis of Bitcoin, which was falling victim to the stagnation fallacy that it's not going to improve, the technology is not going to get better, when in fact we're actually seeing Bitcoin continue to step forward despite the price going down, despite everybody, the mainstream media pushing this agenda, Bitcoin crashing. The core technology is better than ever, and I think that's a trend that's going to keep improving. Would love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Is Square going to keep pushing Bitcoin? Is this a one-off experiment that they're going to shut down in a year, or is this the start of us seeing big tech companies really go all in and allowing Bitcoin to operate on their platforms? I don't know. You tell me. This is Hyperchange. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.